Hey there, everybody. This is Aristotle, and we are back with another video today, and we are going to be talking about Rails. They got a big update in 1.17 for Java players. Yes, they did. And we're going to go through what that means. So come on, let's go. So if you haven't been reading the notes on the 1.17 update, Rails can now run underwater in Java. Our friends over on Bedrock have had this ability for quite a while, but this is a brand new feature to most Java players. So today we're going to be going through the details on underwater Rails. Remember those days when you could just go through the mine shaft and drop a little bit of water and it would clean up all the rails and you just pick them up without using up your pickaxe? Yeah, that doesn't work anymore. So Rails block water now. They are also able to be waterlogged, so you can waterlog a rail. But if you notice, the rails right next to it block the water from spreading off in that direction, which has some very interesting consequences. Now, probably the best news about this for Java players is when you accidentally leak out a little water and you destroy your entire collection system in your big old redstone farm, well, yeah, that's not going to happen anymore. So that is a good thing. But there are some properties to Rails that you need to kind of be aware of. So firstly, running water doesn't affect them. So instead of the water running in and waterlogging this, it just remains blocked. Later on, you can also come in and just waterlog the rail, or if you break it and then place down a new one in a water source, it will be waterlogged already. And Rails can now pick up fish. So by doing that, maybe you can get a fish collection farm going. The mechanics and powering of Rails all work the same as they have in the past underwater. So using a blocker in the back like that will get the minecart to bounce off of it and go in the opposite direction. All right, so I've set the game to survival, and as you can see, anytime we are underwater, I am losing bubbles. And of course I regain them as soon as we come back up into the air, which means any mobs that take drowning damage will be affected by long underwater rail trips. So don't think you're going to make the world's first underwater coaster. At least don't think you're going to make a very long one. One of the things you might have noticed on this little coaster over here is I moved very slowly underwater. And you can see that right here by the speed of the minecart. Even though those are all powered rails, it's moving much slower than it does above water. This means that weighted minecarts, such as minecarts with hoppers, minecarts with chests, or minecarts with a player in it, do not travel as far as they normally do on dry land. You're going to have to increase the number of powered rails in your system. For example, this chest minecart, when I push it down, will continue on for about 7 blocks. It reaches full speed coming down the hill, hits the first and only powered rail on this one, and then goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it'll stop right about there. In doing some testing for weighted minecarts, you are actually going to want a space of 5 non-powered rails at the most in between powered rails. So that would mean powered rail, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 regular rails, and then back to powered rail. Using this method, the cart will continue to move on down the line and not get stuck. Empty minecarts, of course, go much less distance. And so that empty minecart stopped after 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks after the powered rail. So if you're going to be using a system where you have empty minecarts underneath, you're going to want a maximum of 3 non-powered rails in between your powered rails. Oh, and if you notice I'm using redstone blocks to power these, it's our only choice. You can't place redstone torches. They just pop off. Same thing with buttons, and same thing with levers. Redstone blocks are going to be your only method of powering rails underwater. Unless, of course, you're going to create some dry spaces for torches. So here is a weighted minecart with 5 unpowered rails in between. And you can see that although it almost comes to a stop, it still will keep going. So that really is your maximum in a system like this underwater. Now this section has even larger gaps, and as you can see, it falters and even comes to a stop. Using 3 non-powered rails in between your powered rails will create a much smoother mode of travel. As you can see, it doesn't slow down enough to stop, but it does keep on going even though it's not exactly at top speed. Oh yeah, and when you hit the end, your minecart will sink, not float. Now, anybody who's played with TNT minecarts knows that when you drop a TNT minecart off the end of the rail and it lands on dry ground, it explodes. That same TNT cart underwater moves very slowly, but once it drops off the end, it just sinks to the bottom and sits there. No explosions. See? None of that happened. One of my favorite things I found out is minecarts with furnaces do still work underwater, and they actually look kind of cool. They also have about the same push limit as they do on land, although their speed certainly leaves something lacking. And again, no explosion. And if you have a bunch of rails and you place down some water, you just end up waterlogging that one rail. Break the rail and the water stays contained in that area. If you do set down a block though, and place a water source on top, you can create floating water. Not quite certain how to use this for any benefit yet, but I'm working on it. Oh yeah, and when you run a minecart underneath it, it seems to be slowed just a tiny bit being that close to water, but not as slow as if it was underwater. And if you break that block, you can then replace your rail, and now you have floating water with nothing dripping out underneath. If you update any of the rail blocks, though, the water will update and cascade down, but it's an easy fix. You just pop your rail back in, and we're back to floating water. And when you ride a minecart in floating water, yeah, you are drowning. So, time to get out of here. Blowing up a bunch of TNT minecarts underwater won't damage your rails. Blowing up TNT minecarts outside of the water will hurt your rails. So this has been me, Aristotle, wishing you a good day, good evening, good afternoon, good night. I thank you so much for your support and coming with us on this short video. I hope you're enjoying your 1.17 worlds. I know I am super excited to start our SMP. I'm putting together an SMP for me and my friends on Discord. If you're looking for more info from some crazy cool people, why don't you come join our Discord? Link is in the description below. See ya!